Hi, it's Lisa Smith, Kindred Stitcher, bringing you Flosstube video number 14, take 25. We have a beautiful day today, and the sun is shining, which means it's bright in my craft room. You gotta love that. It's just hard to film. So I'm giving you a different perspective of my craft room because I need to stand up. I want to show you some quilts that I have worked on in the past. A finish that if you're on Instagram you've already seen, and but I wanted to give you a little bit closer perspective, some other work that I'm working on, and a little bit of stash. So it feels like I just did a video, which I did a couple of weeks ago. However, it's the beginning of March and I wanted to wrap up February, so I'm sort of back on track for the once a month videos. So here we go. First is a shout out, and this is to a gal who's a regular commenter on my channel, and I have enjoyed watching her videos. It's Jan Hicks. She has a couple of new videos. What I appreciate about Jan is that she's moved around a few times, and she and her husband live in a smaller space, so she's very conscious about what she buys and what she puts in her space, because she has not enough space to house all of this hoard that I have in my craft room. So give Jana a look and maybe subscribe to her channel, see what she's got cooking over there. The second thing is what I'm all into, or what I've been doing. Let me just talk about what I've been doing lately. So Lori Texstylist, Lori McClare's Texstylist, Texstylust, I think I spelled that right. She and I had a stitch day last weekend. So Lori came over in the afternoon and about 1 o'clock, and we sat down, we chatted, we looked at stuff. She looked through my fabric, looked through my projects, and then the next time I get to go to her house. So when y'all watch the videos where she's got the stash of fabric in the background, that's not all of her fabric. And if you don't see me for a month or so, you might find that I've lost myself in her fabric stash. We also went to a meetup at Acorns and Threads last weekend, or yesterday. And Joe was there, so pretty Southern, Michelle Benny Stitchy, Michelle Romantic Tangle, Darlene Baumgartner, who's never done a video, never been in a video, and has now been initiated. We expect a video from Darlene. Who else? Lisa, who works at Acorns and Threads. Michelle Bendy's mom was there. Lori McClary was there. Oh gosh, am I missing someone? Oh, Audrey, Stitchy Witch 42. We had a blast. Go over to Joe's channel, and she did a video there, so check her out. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee. I don't normally drink coffee in the afternoon, but it's Saturday. All right, so what I'm all into, quilts. I have quilted for many years, and I haven't quilted as much recently simply because of work and being very involved in kids' extracurricular activities. Well, my kids now are mostly out of the house. My youngest is a senior, and he is graduating in a couple months, so we will be empty nesters, and I'm looking forward to doing more quilting. My sewing machine, if you watched my last video, is at the quilt doctor, or the sewing machine doctor right now, getting fixed, and should be done pretty soon. So, hold on just a second. Chelsea and Priscilla talked about doing rag quilts. I've done, I want to say, maybe 8 rag quilts. And the way I do it's a little different. The way I was taught is to take a 9-inch square of fabric and another 9-inch square of the same fabric, and you center an 8-inch square of batting in the middle, and I use cotton warm and natural or warm and white batting in the middle, and you sew an X, and you do that over and over and arrange your squares in the pattern that's pleasing to you, and you sew them in rows. Then you sew the rows together to create the whole quilt. And the back looks the same as the front. Then you just throw a binding on it and snip This is about sewn about a half an inch. When you sew these together, you sew about a half an inch down, which allows you to clip this, and then as you wash it, it gets that real kind of vintage fuzzy feel to it. These, my family loves these. They are so easy to use, to carry. I took them to a football game though. I make them all out of flannel. Flannel outside and damp climates isn't the best. If you did it out of wool, it'd be great, but it's better for, I think, indoor wear. But I love these. These are super easy to make. You can whip one up in a weekend, and if you can find your flannel on sale, it's not too bad. All right, so another quilt that I made, and I must have made this at least 10 years ago. And most of the quilts that I've made in the past are baby quilts. I made some full-size quilts, but this is one, and I didn't use it for a long time, but I use it in my stitching chair all the time now because it's very soft. It's the first quilt that I've ever hand quilted, and it's a beginner quilt. I used a lot of Joann's fabrics, which is fine, but the fabric, when I stitched it, I knew that it would not, the quality was such that it would wear quickly. So it's not going to hold up over a long period of time. It already has some stains on it that Lori said she has a product. She can help me get out the stains. But it's a chevron pattern, and it's sewn on the bias. So the bias is, if you take a right square, a triangle that's got a right angle in the middle, it's the hypotenuse, the long edge, that's cut on a 45-degree angle across the grain. So it has a lot of give to it, and it's easy to distort your pieces when you're sewing that. You have to be very gentle sewing anything on the bias. Well, I found that out. So when I hung it up, it like stretches. It's sort of like A-line skirts, if you know from like the 50s. They hang with a nice drape and a little bit of a flare on the bottom. It's because it's sewn on the bias. All right, so I'll show you this pink and green. I love pink and green together. I'm not sure what you can see, so I'm just going to show you. This is what it looks like. And this is the quilting that I did. In the body of the quilt itself, I stitched along. It's more of a stitch in the ditch. So you can see the back. Just has that look to it. But I love it, and I would say this is what I learned. Use the things you love, right? Don't save it for the best company or the best, save it for generations. I think use it. Unless it's just absolute heirloom quality, use your stuff. Because your kids might not want it, right? Somebody else will use your stuff. So my mom went to when my grandmother passed away and they cleaned out my grandmother's house. She brought this back, and I claimed it. It's a quilt top. And she's not sure if my grandmother made it or if it was purchased somewhere. You can see this also has some spots on it I need to get cleaned up. But I think of all the English paper piecing craze that's going on now, the hexagonal stitches, right? And this whole thing is pieced by hand. All of the hexagons are stitched by hand. And the fabric is really, like, it's vintage. It's 50s, maybe earlier than 50s. I don't know, 30s. I'm sure there's some people out in Flosstube land who are really familiar with fabric. The dating fabrics. But I think I'll try and finish that. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, if it was worth fixing or salvaging, but I don't have a lot of my grandma's stuff, and it'll be fun anyway. So I'm going to try and finish that one. All right, so one last thing on the sort of the quilting sewing phase is that I showed you in my last video some fabric I had bought, and it's Michael, I don't know the manufacturer, it's Michael something. And the big flowers were on fabric. And I made a quilted bag that I sort of art quilted with metallic threads. And that was a lot of fun. Now this called for handles, right? Because you're making a bag. And the handles were like $35 for a pair of handles. So I just took a worn out purse that I had and cut the handles off. So it has like a narrow opening, so it holds a lot of stuff. It doesn't have as much shape as I probably wanted it to have, and I need maybe a stiffer bottom in it. But I have toted a lot of cross stitch stuff around in that bag, and it's really, really handy. So you know, our craftiness and our creativity extends beyond cross stitch sometimes, beyond quilting, into things that you've never done before. So what I would say is give it a try. You don't, you know, try hard things, try things that are new. It's how you grow and become confident. All right, so stitching and quilting. That's what I'm into. The last thing that I'm all into, oh, nope, second to last thing that I'm all into is I do love reading. And this is one of my favorite authors, Alan Bradley. And this, if you like mysteries, now the protagonist is an 11-year-old, so you have to suspend disbelief because you would never believe that when you read the book. But it's awesome. She's always solving these mysteries. She lives in an old house that was her mother's estate. Her mother's MIA or passed away. Her dad can barely keep things together. So she's sort of as the youngest of 3 daughters, she's sort of the one who has her wits together. There are, I want to say, 8 books or so, and a new one was just released. So check out, if you like to read, this is a great author. A lot of awards were granted on that book. I don't know, Pulitzer, Newbery Award, I think. I'm not sure. All right, so last thing of what I'm all into. Depression glass. It's a pressed glass, so it's not a cut glass. And this is something that you all of a sudden you've got, 500 pieces of this, but I love little, this is a perfect size to put buttons and doodads in, sit it on your counter. I also like candy dishes. So here's another one that's, you might have seen this in my shadow box that's on the wall, on the opposite wall of this one behind me. This one I think might be cut. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's depression glass. It sparkles. It's fun. It's not as expensive as, say, like a crystal. And it's, depending on where you live in the United States, it can be highly sought after or not so much. And another one that I found, like I said, you can just rat hole a bunch of stuff away in this. I love these little vintagey glassware. Okay. So the last thing, I'm looking at my notes, sorry, is some finishes. So I have an amazing finish that I promised, I think the video before last, as soon as it came in, I would show you. This is the Snow Queen, Mirabelle Snow Queen that I stitched last year and sent to Jill Rensel to frame. So hold please and let me see if I can grab her. All right. Oops, try and get rid of that. There we go. She is incredible. She is so beautiful. I can't even tell you how beautiful she is. And Jill does such an amazing job. Amber at her shop does a lot of this painting. And the frame is sort of a, I want to say distressed, but it's a weathered silver. And it just glows with the white matte and the arch. And this is stitched on 32 count Hamlet under the Sea Fabrics. And it's huge. So what I love about this, it's almost like you're looking inside a window or you're looking from inside a house outside at the Snow Queen, just nobly walking by with her prized reindeer. It's breathtaking. They did such a beautiful job on this piece. I pretty much followed the pattern, but I did not stitch the whisper at the bottom. Instead, I put blending filament. And I substituted some beads. So the treasures, I did not buy Mill Hill. I bought some beads from Shipwreck Beads, which is a huge store in the Olympia area. And I made some substitution of beads on the reindeer. Pretty much the rest of it is all as called for. Okay. Whew, and that's heavy. It's heavy. So, I'll make sure this doesn't fall over. You get what you pay for. And with Jill, I don't hold back a lot because I have very few things framed by her. This one, Moonflowers, I've shown you before, was framed by Jill. This one, Gypsy Queen, was not. This one cost me a lot more than this one, right? So we all have to make choices, and I save. Stitchy Mommy and I were kind of messaging back and forth about having Jill frame things, but this is my approach. I save like $25 a paycheck, and I have one a year framed by her. So it's not so painful as when you just write the check, or have her charge your credit card for the full amount. At least I have that money set aside purposely for this. And so that's sort of the cadence with which I'll have things framed. It'll be about probably one a year-ish. So the second finish, hold please. I gotta pick up my stuff and get it closer. This is a finish, not framed. And I sort of rearranged my plan because, as Vonna says, it's not a work in progress, it's an evolving idea. Is that what she said it is? Evolving idea. So I took this. Prairie Schooler was on my list. I was not planning on starting it in February, but I decided to because I just wanted a little bit of spring in my life. And it's funny, the color palette with Prairie Schooler is very basic, which makes it flexible and easy to stitch. But sometimes it's not as dynamic as some of the other patterns that you might buy. So what I did is I took silks from my stash and substituted. And I do a little bit of fusty stitching with this, but it is definitely, here, I'm gonna get a little bit better. Oh, I don't think, there we go. It is definitely, there's a lot more movement in the piece because the stitches, it's not just a solid, like, this isn't all one color and all that one color. The silks have a lot of variegation in them, and it's really pretty, very, very pretty. And I can't wait, I'm gonna stitch them all in a row. So this is my scrap fabric. I couldn't believe I found this in my stash and it was perfect size. And I'm going to stitch them, instead of the way that they're done individually here, I'm going to stitch them in a row here across. So I'm looking forward to getting on to the next one of those, but I'm not sure what month I'm going to do that. Might be next month. I also have been working on my the Noah's Ark for my nephew. I think I showed that in my whips and plans for 2018. And this is where I am so far. Sorry. Now, this has all the animals are 1/1. So I did the rabbit this morning, I finished that, the elephant, there's a fox, pandas, turtle, mink, cat, camel, seal, dove. What is that? Oh, hedgehog. This hedgehog is adorable. Hedgehogs, musk ox, squirrels, bighorn sheep, pigs, lions. I can't remember what the rest of these are. I think there's like polar bear and ostrich. But I'm almost done. I have to do the lazy daisies around here and in here, fill these in and do some outlining, and then I'm done. So I'm really trying to get that done this month. I had time scheduled where I just had it on the agenda. I don't really divide my work by days of the month, but I probably will stitch on this until it's done. Probably. All right. Those are the things I've been working on since the last video, which is really just a couple weeks ago, I think. And so I just got to find a way to quit my job and work and do stitching full time. Actually, I really love my job, so I don't want to quit my job. I need to figure out how to create more hours in the day for my job. So the last piece here is just a little bit about stash and plans and how they change sometimes. At Acorns and Threads, Janine had a basket of limited edition Gloriana silks. And I'm a silk hoarder, you guys. I just see little pretty silks and I want to buy them and not even have a pattern that they go to. And I think it stems from the Mirabilia patterns usually have 1 or 2 water lily silks in them. So I started collecting those, and pretty soon I have like one of these drawers down here is like full of silks. Lori looked at it and she's like, oh dear Lord. That's my vice. It's my one weakness. Lori and I are going to stitch Hoity Toity together. Long Dog Sampler, Hoity Toity, and I picked up this fabric. So see the background here is really white. I didn't want to stitch it on white, so I picked Lakeside, which is my favorite, Pecan Butter. It's not vintage, so it's just straight pecan butter, which is fine with me because that Hoity Toity is almost full coverage. So you're not going to see the modeling on the vintage anyway. And this is 40 count, so 36 count stitched is like 11 by almost 16, so 40 count will probably be somewhere around 10 by 15, I imagine. So if you want to stitch with us, I'm not sure when we're going to stitch yet, but it is Hoity Toity, HOITY, Sal, S-A-L. Just hashtag that. We're not going to start a Facebook group, but if you want to join us or you're already stitching, just hashtag pictures you already have of it. So just a word. This is so funny. Janine and Acorns and Threads, she was talking with us about half yard cuts. So this is a fat half. It's a big piece, right? And it's 40 count, so it should cover quite a few projects, even bigger projects, even including some bigger ones. But Janine is a upper left-hand corner stitcher. And she was visiting a friend of hers, and her friend is like, and she's a shop owner, I think. She said, all you in the Pacific Northwest always stitch with all this extra fabric. So Janine just takes a fat half and she starts stitching in the left-hand corner because she can't be bothered to stop and cut the fabric. She's like, I don't have time for that. I want to stitch when I want to stitch. So there was also, I think one of her sampler groups does the same, and it became known as a Portland cut. So people who stitch on the upper left-hand corner of a fat half, and they even stitch in hand. I don't know how you do it stitching in hand. Like, that's a lot of fabric to hold, but it's called a Portland cut. I didn't know if you knew that. I didn't know that. So I got on a Lizzie Kate. You know, I had to order my stuff too, although ain't nobody got the same haul that Jo does, Linda Jo from Pretty Southern. Check out her video. She's hilarious. I picked up the Seasons, and I saw this, oh gosh, I guess I would turn it the right way. I saw this maybe a year ago, and I almost ordered it, I don't know how many times. And so when I found out that they were closing, I'm like, yeah, this is going in my shopping cart. So about that. And I also picked up this one. I'm a flower girl, you guys. The 3-part mystery sampler. I love their mystery samplers. I picked up Tidy Tidings 12. I probably should get the buttons for that. And Tidy Tidings 11. So, in my understanding, Pam and Steph said that the craze, like they're going to have patterns for a while, until the end of the month. But so don't wait, but don't, you know, don't run over your neighbor to get to the store to buy them. All right. Acorns and Threads, I picked up this one, American Sampler by Plum Street. And oh my gosh, have you guys seen the new Plum Street's coming out? And the Brenda Gervais. So Brenda Gervais, who's one of my top favorites, I think she has 11 designs coming out at market. I want them all. But I can't get them all, not at once, you know, so I think I'm buying half of them anyway. I picked up this one through Bush Mountain Stitchery, which is Sheepish Designs, American Beauty. Isn't that pretty? And I'm in the smalls. This year, all my starts and my plans are bigs, and next year I think all my starts are going to be smalls. Here's another Sheepish Design, Betsy. This is adorable. This would be a cute drum. Ooh, that would be a really cute drum. Stay tuned. Instagram, I've seen several people stitching this, so I reached out to the designer and bought Miss Lucy Calcutt. I do love this. Although this blank space here drives me crazy. Like I'm going to probably just put whatever's here and reverse over here. I'm not a purist. I'm okay with that. Because Michelle Bendy said that she belongs to all three of the Dying to Stitch monthly clubs. I am a copycat and did the same. I've been on the Dying to Stitch Ladies Prim Club. I'm not sure what it's called. I've been on one of them for a couple of years, but now I'm on all three because look at this. And Michelle Farm Girl, she stitched it. Lots of people are stitching it, and it's on Instagram. The picture's super cute. Sorry I didn't take any of this stuff out of the folders or the plastic. Birds of a Feather. I told you I'm all into fractors in my last video. Well, then I found this, which is out of print. And yeah, I absolutely had to have that. I might even stitch that this year. I might bust my plans up a little bit. One of the new Plum Streets already in the shops. And if you're a Jane Austen fan, which I am, I suppose there may be 100 different ways of being in love. How sweet is that? All right. And here is a couple of other things. A couple of other Lizzie Kates. Flippets. February. 4 Freedoms by Little House Needleworks. This is cute. And this will go pretty quickly. Robin's Song, which is super cute. So it'll go this way. Very spring-like. And then I was looking for fabric at my last visit to Acorns and Threads for my Mirabilia 12 Days of Christmas. And I went back and forth. I had white. There's a lot of white in the background, but I just really want white. And, you know, when you are struggling with picking fabric, or if a pattern's not calling to you, it's probably not time for that particular thing to be stitched. It might be time to stitch on something else. So I decided to wait on my Mira 12 days to start that till later in the year and give myself a chance to think about the fabric that I wanted, because it's a big piece with 12 pieces stitched on one. And I did run into, though, I did pick up some fabric at Acorns and Threads that is this beautiful, it's a coffee dyed R&R linen 40 count espresso. And it is, I would say that this is probably 436 is the closest DMC color to it. It's very warm. It's hard to get a true color for you guys here, but this might be pretty close. That's not too bad, not too far off. And it feels fantastic. It's great to hold in your hand. And I'm going to stitch Summer at Holly Berry Farm, which I'm a Stacey Nash fan too. If you guys saw some of the peaks of her Nashville stuff, her little stand-ups they're adorable. And you know, when I first saw the first couple, I was like, those are cute. But now as more produced, I'm going to be buying those for sure. The colors on this are just, they're awesome. Warm reds. I've substituted colors. Here's some of them. Some of the colors, not all of them. I don't have the red in here, but I think I have Cherry Cobbler as the red. I just love it. I love it. So that's what I'm substituting in my plans. Okay, and then I did pick up a little bit of fabric, and I'm gonna make, and because how much project fabric did I have last time I had a video? Like, I don't know, 8 bags worth. I saw this and I just love this fabric. This is gonna be a project bag. Outside and inside. Jeez. All right, so that, I think that's everything. The sun's out today. I need a shot of vitamin D. So I think I will post this video and go outside. My husband's working in our yard. He's finishing pruning fruit trees. We're whacking back brush and burning it because we live kind of in the country, so that's what we do. We don't have recycle waste bins. They don't offer it. Do a little raking, pulling, weeding, and get ready for spring, because some people around the world, we're right in the thick of spring. Some of us still have a lot of snow. It snowed last week, but that's almost gone. And I'm going to get out and enjoy the rest of my day. So you guys, until the next time I see you, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk with you again soon.